In November of 2022, as a direct response to the intensifying housing crisis in Ontario, the provincial government passed Bill 23, also known as the More Homes Built Faster Act. The urgency behind this bill stems from the shortage of affordable homes, rising property prices, and challenges in meeting the increasing demand for housing in Ontario. This crisis has particularly impacted urban areas, leading to housing instability and limited housing options for existing and incoming residents. Premier Doug Ford and the Ontario government recognized this pressing need for action and set an ambitious goal with this legislation to add 1.5 million new homes by the year 2031. Bill 23, 77 pages long, stands as a legislative cornerstone in this approach, introducing substantial changes to existing acts and regulations crucial to the housing development landscape in the province. The scope of the bill embarks on the Development Charges Act, Planning Act, Municipal Act, and more. These changes signify a concerted effort to streamline and optimize the housing development process, aiming to alleviate the strain on the housing market and provide viable solutions to Ontarians in need of housing options. In this video, I will discuss the implications of Bill 23 and examine whether Bill 23 effectively bridges the gap between the growing demand for housing and the potential deepening of the housing crisis. The proposed changes to the Conservation Authorities Act under Bill 23 significantly limit the role of conservation authorities to their core mandate, primarily focused on natural hazards. This reduction in authority may facilitate suburban sprawl on the Greenbelt. The Greenbelt was established in 2005 to protect environmentally sensitive lands and farmland from urban development, but the new bill will remove 7,400 acres from protection. Many predict that the sprawl will heavily hit the Greenbelt. Sprawl is characterized by low-density development, separated land uses, leapfrogging over existing areas, and reliance on vehicles. Despite being a common urban form, sprawl remains in an experimental stage with uncertain outcomes. The suburbs, where 81% of Canadians live, have grown significantly faster than city centres, raising questions about hidden costs. Municipal plans and zoning rules contribute to sprawl, but the demand for it is largely fueled by affordability. Economic factors such as lower housing and operational costs make suburbs attractive to residents and businesses. The affordability factor, rather than a personal preference, often influences decision to choose suburban living. That being said, however, with a rapidly growing population, these single-family suburban homes stretching into the Greenbelt will undoubtedly continue to be out of reach for middle and lower income class. Moreover, government policies, including spending to free-use highway systems and a failure to address external costs of road use, contribute to subsidizing car-centric development and suppressing transportation costs to suburban locations. Bill 23 introduces affordability criteria for housing units offering development fee reductions for those meeting specific criteria. However, concerns arise regarding the government's definition of affordable housing and the potential loopholes that may not effectively contribute to creating genuinely affordable options. One prominent concern is the lack of explicit guarantees in Bill 23 to ensure the creation of affordable housing. Many argue that the proposed measures may not effectively compel developers to pass on savings or mandate the inclusion of affordable units. There seems to be a lack of incentives within the legislative framework to encourage the creation of genuinely affordable housing options, addressing concerns about potential unintended consequences. Bill 23's measures, including reduced development charges, changing to zoning rules, and amendments to the Planning Act, have implications for housing affordability in already established communities. Many advocate for intensifying development in existing areas to preserve green spaces and foster diverse housing options. The amendments to the Planning Act create a new provincial threshold for permitted construction, moving towards as-of-right zoning to meet the planned minimum density targets. Specifically, landowners are permitted to add 2 additional residential as-of-right on certain properties, fostering in-law suites, basement suites, and laneway or garden homes. Seemingly a step in the right direction in terms of affordability, many criticize the as-of-right amendments since there are no incentives for developers to make these units affordable. There is a gray area in the bill that does not address the potential of gentrification and does not protect existing tenants and future homeowners. The concerns raised by the public highlight the need for a thoughtful approach for balanced growth and community preservation. There is a major concern with the proposed changes to community engagement and public consultations. Now, public meetings before municipal decisions on subdivision plans and the restriction of appeal rights have been eliminated. This, in turn, diminishes community input and transparencies. These alterations could compromise the democratic decision-making process and limit opportunities for residents, community organizations, and environmental groups to voice their concerns. The bill introduces changes to development charges, aiming to stimulate housing development by providing exemptions for certain residential units and discounts for purpose-built rental apartments. However, the anticipated reduction in development charges could lead to a significant loss of revenue for municipalities. Mayor of Newmarket, John Taylor, highlights the expected property tax increases of 7 to 10% over the next 5 years as a direct consequence of managing the loss and development management costs. Municipalities express concerns about the need to hire more staff to handle planning and development processes, leading to increased budgetary requirements. The potential strain on municipal budgets is a central point of discussion, with stakeholders emphasizing the need for the government to address the massive cut in revenue that municipalities are expected to face. Without a commitment to help municipalities cover these revenue cuts, there may be a need to cut services or raise property taxes. The ongoing debate revolves around finding a balance between promoting housing development, addressing affordability, and ensuring that municipalities can effectively manage the associated costs without compromising essential services such as libraries, fire stations, parks, and waste management.
There's nothing wrong with trying to build more homes. In fact, we need them. But this bill doesn't do it. This is just a handout to developers. It's not going to get it done. What it is going to do is line the pockets of developers at the expense of the public. And that's not exaggeration. That's a direct action that's going to happen. The Municipal Organization of Ontario has stated that it's going to cost municipalities billions, that's billions with a B, dollars over the next 10 years in public funding, right out of their coffers, direct into the hands of developers.
The bill then proposes further changes to municipal plans. Now the addition of waivers is included for community benefits charges and parkland dedications for specific residential units. This and supporting housing development, addressing affordability, and managing fiscal implications for essential services spreads the municipal budgets thin. After watching many interviews on the bill, it is clear that Ontario's mayors are not enthused by these changes. The Ontario Association of Architects made a formal submission on Bill 23, and their stance is crystal clear. They emphasize the crucial need to avoid compromising protected green spaces. These areas are vital for the environment, offering a variety of benefits from biodiversity preservation to recreational spaces for communities. The OAA advocates strongly for a strategic approach to housing development. Instead of encroaching on green spaces, they propose a focus on established areas. Why? Well, these areas already have existing amenities like parks, schools, and infrastructures. By intensifying development in these established zones, we can maximize the use of resources, create diverse housing options, and foster vibrant, inclusive communities. In response to these concerns, voices like the Ontario Association of Architects advocate for housing development in already established areas to preserve green spaces and promote vibrant communities. However, the bill's impact extends beyond housing, as demonstrated by the anticipated property tax increases and potential strain on municipal budgets, impacting services like libraries, fire station, parks, and waste management. The bold passage of Bill 23 in Ontario is a huge step in providing housing, but many seem to think that this is a free rein for developers and does not address the root issue at hand. As mentioned by the OAA, it may be worth it to densify in already established areas and not put such a dent in municipal budgets and the property tax of the public. Public services and community engagement is arguably just as important to have as a roof over the head. The suburban housing typology leaves little room for budgetary flexibility and does not currently meet the needs of lower and middle income households. With the rapidly growing Canadian population, it seems that the demand for housing will continue to be high, and the question then becomes, how far do we sprawl? By examining the effectiveness of the bill in achieving its ambitious objectives, we gain insights into the role of reshaping the landscape of housing development in Ontario. Whether it successfully addresses the pressing issues, or as many believe requires further refinement, it will shape the trajectory of housing policy in the province for years to come.